Hail and well met, friends. Roll for initiative.
What is that? What you were saying?
That's
No,
that was it?
it's like like hail and well met.
What?
God,
What do you?
D&D is not cool. It's fun, but not cool.
You can't just... that's not a discussion.
We haven't even started yet.
Yeah, I know. No, I was just settling.
Wait, was
one.
that what you were actually saving it for?
No, the first part was the hail and well met. Roll for initiative.
Is what?
It's just a D&D thing.
How
trope.
Yeah, it's a trope. It's a trope.
how's Hail and Well Met a D&D trope?
It's like you cut your innkeeper.
Hail and well met,
NPC
adventurers. Welcome to my inn.
That doesn't strike me as a D&D trope.
a fantasy.
It's good enough for me.
It is a trope.
I'm not saying it's the perfect choice. I mean,
We're gonna go.
Hey, look.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall. All right, we're gonna see what sticks.
Don't touch my mom's spaghetti.
It's GG No Re. Tonight we've got a smaller crew. More coming later, but we're gonna start right now because listen, the people out there, they're starving. They're starving for content. They're in a dry and thirsty land where there is no content, and we are coming here. Look at this. It's an ever-flowing pitcher filled with RPG-related content, and that's what we're here for.
But
Come and sup at the
we're
teat
gonna
of
pour for
GG
like
Nori.
30 minutes.
And then we're just talking over each other. It's great.
Hey, we're professionals.
I'm
here.
the loudest.
Okay, I'm Daniel. Tim, who are you?
This is me.
Asa.
It's Asa.
Oh, it's Jim guy. Jim's here too, guys. Thank you.
We've
listener.
got a panel episode this week where we just talk about stuff. Now listen, this is how this is the world now. This is our life now. We get together every couple of weeks and we'll play and we'll record that, but then we'll also talk about something and release that on an off week. So that's what you're getting right now. The question before us today is D&D cool now? That's the topic.
What do we mean by cool?
And if it's cool, do we want to be a part of it anymore?
Yeah, it defeats the purpose.
This was prompted by several articles that we saw on the Webernets.
Yep.
Give us some examples, research people. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah. So
Fact check this. Fact check.
Evan, I need a fact check.
I think we ought to link a couple like in the show notes, but there's just been a lot of articles recently in like major publications like the New York Post, Washington Post, the Times, of course the random Gizmodo.
I'm sure Forbes has done something.
I'm sure Forbes surely has, but I've kind of been posting these as I've seen them, and I feel like
Vice.
Yeah.
Well, this was 2014, but still.
Counts.
It's all coming together to where I might actually think that D&D might be cool, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and didn't Critical Role recently generate some like over $1 million for a Kickstarter? Or something like
for
that?
an animated series.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep.
That hasn't come out yet, though, right?
No, I saw an article about that and
And it's about all their characters, right, that they've been playing?
yes.
I don't know anything about it, but I just assumed that had to have been the case.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've seen these articles, and almost all the ones I've seen, and I have actually seen several that just come up in, like, my Google news feed or whatever. Almost every time Critical Role is mentioned at some point. And I don't know, I have to roll my eyes, because I have taken time to watch some of those, and I'm just like, this is not actual like normal D&D for any normal group of people who play it. Like, this is a group of semi-famous people who are getting together to do this hobby. They may like it, they may not. They may just be doing it for, to get the views. But it's not how like D&D is normally played by anybody.
No, it's not.
It's a very much a production.
Well, I mean, the cool kids play like that though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not in the cool crowd.
Like I've never mentioned it whenever we started to play, but like I always have a sexual orientation.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping that to yourself.
So
I live in the South, and it's hard to be open about these things.
Okay.
So I'll say often quoted as evidence that D&D is cool are celebrities that play D&D.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I have a pretty good list here. I this is in the Washington Post article.
Vin Diesel.
Of course, Vin Diesel. Okay, wait, what other ones come to mind?
Who's that girl that's in all the nerdy? She's like the nerdy girl every time. She has red hair, doesn't she?
Yes.
Oh,
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but isn't she
Marquez
actually
Brownlee. That's hot. That's hot.
Felicia Day.
Yes,
Day, yep.
her.
Yep.
Yep, she's on the Mystery Science Theater.
Yep.
So in this
she's one
list,
of
The
there's,
parts that I fast forward
Actors,
through.
writers, yeah.
till I
there's
get to
Jon
the film.
Favreau,
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore,
Huh?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Oh, come on.
James Franco,
Tracks.
Stephen
That tracks.
Colbert,
Yeah, all the Stranger Things guys, right? Well, I don't know.
and
maybe.
Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, I think that you see a lot of mention in these articles, but like, oh yeah, when they showed it in Stranger Things, you know, this thing, and they're coming out with the Stranger Things like box set or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I don't mind that it's culturally becoming more prevalent and acceptable, popular, whatever. But it's just like this hubbub around it. It's cool to play. It's like, no, it's not. It's still not like it. In any social circles I ever go to, or any normal, like, where I'm having to be with people who are not my close friends or you guys I play with.
Wait a minute.
If I mention that I play D&D, you know, I'd still get, you still get this response like, huh, yeah, okay. You know, not like,
Is that like
oh,
a
sweet,
is that like
can
a,
I come?
Is that like a board game?
Yeah, what's that like?
Yeah, people still don't know what it is or how it works.
And it can be hard to explain. Like, I don't know, like people just don't get it. Like they just can't get their head around the idea of it.
Yeah, I can try to tell them, like, it's literally just a game about imagination that does have some rules and some dice around it if you want to.
Yeah.
But
Wait,
what?
so Ta-Nehisi Coates,
Okay,
that?
yeah.
George R.R. Martin,
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, if he hadn't played, I would have been surprised.
He's a two-ear, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Joe Manganiello.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I know who that guy is. He was in. Yeah.
He was in
Manganiello.
True Blood. He was he played the muscular werewolf,
Yeah.
and he also was in that what was that dude stripper movie? That one.
Yeah. Magic Mike.
Yeah, he was in Magic Mike. That's
Magic.
right.
If you've never seen Matthew McConaughey's scenes from Magic Mike, it's worth a watch. It's hilarious.
We should get pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's something we
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
All right, take your word for
I
it.
mean, I don't have to watch him stripping or anything.
No.
I mean,
no.
you can.
Yeah. He's like, all right,
get
ladies, one rule. There's only one rule. No touching.
All right,
But I see a lot of rule breakers out there. So good.
That's an actual quote, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's so good. So I just pulled up Critical Role's Twitch channel. I think they're the most popular D&D related
They've got to
channel. They got to be. Looks like they got 3.5 million total views, 250,000 followers, and the most recent actual play looks like it has 108K views.
That's about where we sit, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing pretty good. They're almost up to where we are. But, you know, they still got a ways to go.
How long have they been at it?
I don't know.
I mean, that still seems kind of low for it to be cool, though.
It does seem a little bit low.
Yeah.
So we got John in here. Say hey, John.
Hey, John.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh,
You know he had to do it to him.
He had to do it to him.
Bruh.
all right. We can stop this conversation now. This is officially concluded. We now know that D&D is not cool.
Definitely not. Definitely not cool.
Thanks, John.
It's popular.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Not cool.
Hey, I want to say my 2 cents. I think it's more cool than it used to be.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
And by cool, we mean popular and culturally acceptable.
Yes.
Generally.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you take me back to the start? What is something that is actually cool?
Fortnite and Marquez Brown.
That's hot. That's hot. That hurt.
So Fortnite's cool.
Video games are definitely cool. Everyone plays video games now. Used to be niche. Now it's not,
Yeah.
right? D&D used to be niche.
I think D&D
Still
will be
is.
cool. I think it's getting there. There's more and more people that I think that I know. I'm just randomly telling me, oh yeah, I play D&D. What? I never in the window. What? People that I know who are like college age, like young
yeah.
20s,
Oh, okay.
and they're like, yeah, I tried D&D for the first time last week. That was freaking fun. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but yeah, I did. I played D&D.
I've encountered a lot of people like that, of similar age, if maybe a generation behind, but even like kids. kids, teenagers. Like I have, there's some kids at the school that my wife teaches at that they're wanting to start an after school club, and they want me to come like help them do the D&Ds, if you will, or something like that. And so I was like, it's definitely, I hear a lot about it more, and I feel like it's less of a shunned, weird jack chick to like, ooh, you're LARPing and you're getting into Satan worship kind of thing, and it's definitely more of a, it's just a hobby you do, but it's still pretty niche, I think.
Yeah, I think Stranger Things is doing a lot to help it too.
It did.
Could be.
I've had a harder time explaining what a podcast is than explaining what D&D is.
Doesn't everybody listen to podcasts?
People know what D&D, like,
You'd think.
there's one person at work that just started. She's a new park director, and like she asked me if I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. And I was like, oh, thank God we got one.
Got somebody who listens to podcasts, somebody who's in the know.
And I was like, I'm actually in a podcast myself.
It's roughly on the scale
I did
of
not
the
say
Joe
that,
Rogan podcast.
and I did not say it like that.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you for that.
So is cool then, the possibility of bonding with your peers on a common subject when
Cool is
previously it was
subjective.
so rare that you really wouldn't meet anybody to even talk to about it?
I would not define cool like that, because the kids.
That seems like a
in
low
this-
bar.
The kids in school, when they played football and they said, "Who are the cool kids?" That was not how it was defined.
Nope. And listen, the people from the
that would
previous
include the band.
generation that play D&D, they're still not cool.
Take George R.R. Martin, for example.
Yeah.
That guy's
Look
a
at this
two-ear
dude.
for sure. Have you
So-
seen his show?
Tour for life, baby.
Tour.
So, so you're talking about the after-school programs. That's also brought up as evidence that D&D is now cool. It talked about that some parents sued a school principal in 1983 for allowing her son to play D&D. Sued the principal of the school.
Was
Wow.
that after the Tom Hanks thing?
Yeah, this is in the
Yeah,
satanic
right
panic
around
of
that.
the 1980s.
Yeah. Are you still in that Washington Post article?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's where I was. That one is full of content.
More evidence. More evidence. So it talks about people playing at bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
They talk about a castle that you can play in England, and it costs $2,600 a person per weekend.
Whew, baby.
Patrons,
Yeah, there we go.
come on, guys, step it up.
Listen,
If you would like to hear us play in this castle,
we'll just get Patrick Stewart and what's the guy? Guy from Monsters and Manuals. I can't remember his name now. There's a bunch. Oh, and Into the Odd Guy, Chris McDowell. They all live in England. Just
We'll just go stay with them.
call them up.
There's a quote. Women in particular love the new edition,
Do they?
but the thing is, like,
Really?
like,
Did they hate the other editions?
yeah,
Do we have that evidence?
Yeah, they hated it.
Well,
That sounds exclusive. Just saying it.
according to the article, 38% of D&D players are female. I'm sorry, identifies female.
I'm pressing X to. I'm pressing
Way to
X
be super PC. Thank
to doubt that statistic.
No, it says so right in this article.
Have
and
you
it's
ever
in
been to
newspaper.
a gaming store?
Now, I wouldn't say 38%. I'd say in Alabama, it's like maybe 20%.
I'd say that
15
max.
That's a high number.
10.
I'd say
Like
10 to 15.
they play like Magic the Gathering for sure. I spent some time in a local game store playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, but still like 10%.
Yeah. Yeah, 10%. Yeah, maybe 10 to 20%.
When you go to the game store, it is, unless it's just more people playing at home, but at least in public, it's definitely less than.
And by God, let's keep it that way.
I was
firmly placed in cheek.
So I DM'd a group that was 60% female. There was 5 of us. Do the math.
Sorry, I can't do math. As we discovered on the
See,
mothership.
you-
So
and
the
2 other
party.
girls.
No, the party was
Alabama education
All right.
system.
so the party was 75% female and 1 male, and then myself. That's how I got the math. I'm sorry, I counted myself as part of the group.
Okay,
Okay.
but you're never really part of the group. I mean, not when you're the DM. You have to stand off.
True. You were
Like,
not. You're not actually one of them.
You're not cool.
You're other.
Like a remote and uncaring deity.
When it comes to the DM, I have no object permanence, so like I'll turn my head and Daniel's dead, as far as I know. Like he's not here anymore. And sometimes I'll turn my head and hear him talking. It startles me.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from.
Might as well come from nowhere.
So I'll say, you know what that experience was like? It was a very different experience, actually, from DMing for you guys.
I
Also,
bet. I
They
can
were,
imagine.
they were all probably newbies as well, right?
Yeah, they're all like super curious about everything in the game, and they took interest in almost. It seems like everything. And
Like
were very
like
inquisitive.
things that normally you would expect us to just completely bypass and just
The
just
tropes.
And
we
they-
would
and
know
they-
like, okay, we shouldn't bother with this.
Yeah, and they assumed like characteristics of objects. You know, so you could, I don't know, you could say a table or whatever. There's a table in the middle of the room. And then they act on the assumption that it's 8 feet long and made of wood and 3 feet tall or something like that, and that they can do this with the table, which is a reasonable assumption, but that's not what I said really. I mean, I say no, it's actually a side table. It's actually 1 foot square and it's a foot tall or something. So, but it was like that the whole time, like the whole night, and it was super fun. Did they interact with other characters that much? No, not especially, but they seemed just super curious about everything and just wanted to kind of.
They wanted all the descriptions of the clothes and the furnishings and the jewelry.
So in our.
in the kitchen.
And they didn't care about the people.
Oh, tell me more about the babies.
Can we do
No, it wasn't like that at all.
Can we do a fashion show or a makeover?
Oh, you know what's so interesting though? When you say that, talking about new players, contrast that to the guy we played with the Dragon Con, whose first experience was organized play.
Yeah.
And his mode of interaction was totally different. Organized play had primed his brain to interact with the world in a completely different way that was like almost like a video game.
Yeah.
and they also would narrate as their character.
Oh,
like-
really? I wish you guys would do that more.
Yeah.
That would just help. I was listening
And so,
to the
so they
episode.
had a very, very like visceral. I don't know. They just really connected to what was going on and their character like position in space, and its relationship to other objects. Like in a way that's, I don't know. It was good. It was very good.
I think it would actually really be interesting and more and fun if we all really limited the amount of interaction we had outside of our player character dialogues.
Table talk.
Yeah, we brought that up before.
Let's never see each other
That seems really
Out.
boring.
and then only talking character.
Tim's already
Yeah.
asleep by that point.
With
If we
accents.
do that, we shouldn't record it. Is what I'm saying.
We'll turn all the lights off so that we
But-
can't even see anything. We're just in a world of pure imagination.
But isn't that what Critical Role does? I mean, don't they just speak as their characters the whole time, and then kind of
Basically.
narrate their characters?
No, they talk as they do meta talk all the time.
Here's
too.
here's the thing. The last episode that we did, the Mothership episode, I actually listened to it and I was like, I thought I did the Giger voice like a lot more, but I didn't.
It got
Like,
cut.
Oh, did it get cut?
No, it didn't get
No, it didn't get cut. No, but I was like thinking there were things that I would say and I would be like, that would have been funnier, or like it would make sense for that to have been said in the Giger voice because it was like internal dialogue. But I didn't say it.
I think after you've played for a while, you become troped up and you just start interacting in a completely different way that's optimized. All right, Daniel, ignore all that previous bit. Just cut all that out. Doesn't matter.
Will you leave that in?
Leave in you telling yourself.
Sure, Asa.
Please, it's
I'll
hilarious.
I'll leave all that in.
But that's how the sausage is made.
That is.
Nobody wants to see that.
Gotta get them grapes of wrath,
And
baby.
that's my grandmother's secret biscuit recipe.
Sausage.
Stacy is now with us. Say hello, Stacy.
Hi.
Well, we got a bunch of late boys today, just trickling on in. But you know what? No matter if you come at the 1st or the 11th hour, you still get the denarius. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
true. Ooh, them deep cuts.
Okay.
I want my penny.
I'm saying,
Listen. Listen.
I don't think D&D is going to ever be that mainstream.
Right.
Here's why.
Yep.
It's too hard.
It's true.
For it to be reasonably enjoyable and on a long-term basis, it requires work, either in doing a bunch of nerdy prep work, like with highlighters and stuff for published modules, or for creating your own stuff. And there's just not that many. It's DM limited, and there's not that many people that are going to do it. I think that's just going to be the hard limit. You're going to increase mainstream acceptance. Maybe we're at the max right now. It's very possible. D&D used to be way more popular
What
when
you're
it
saying?
first came out.
Wait, so you're saying we're at the max of Dungeon Masters? Like we're saturated?
I think we may be approaching that asymptote.
I think the idea of D&D will grow more popular outside of D&D. The idea of it.
Possibly.
Like not the actual play,
Not the actual
but
play.
popularity of the
Yes.
idea of playing.
Yeah, I think that actual play podcasts and things like that will become more and more popular because people will want to be associated with D&D but not actually interact with it.
Yeah, I could see that. I think some people still like buy books and read them, like D&D books, but don't actually play or run games.
I thought you meant books in
I
general.
read like a lot of D&D books before I ever.
Like rule books and supplements and stuff?
No.
Or you mean like D&D inspired fiction?
Like R.A. Salvatore stuff?
Yes.
I was talking about rule books and
Oh,
supplements.
okay. Yeah, no.
Like I think those modules. There's a going conspiracy theory in the OSR kind of scene that the modules are written in an anti-DM format, like they are. Like there's a lot of free flowing text and it's not organized well
Right.
because people mostly read them.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I mean, you can see that reading it for ideas and that kind of thing. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be written in any particular way if you're just going to read through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and since they still sell well, then why bother going through all the hassle to change? Like, there's a
Change
bunch
the
of
way that
adventure
you're
writers who have been
structuring,
writing
yeah.
adventures in this way for years. So why are they going to change? They're still bringing in the money. So
Yeah.
But changing that to making it easier to run would lower the barrier for more GMs, and more GMs would want to run maybe.
maybe so, but who knows if that's going to happen?
I mean, that goes to the criticism we've had over the years of...
There's a new one.
And by we, I mean you and Jim. About just the editing and how it's the like the campaign books have been structured, and that they were just very poorly put together in terms of how a DM might approach it to reference, and cross-reference things.
Yep.
But,
Maybe they're written for you can just read through this straight, but that doesn't help when you're trying to run a game and your players choose to do one thing that's not expected, and you need to be able to quickly reference to another spot in the book.
It reminds me of Out of the Abyss. If you start reading it, like the very, very first chapter, the very first scenario is absolutely paralyzing. I mean, it really is to anyone except anyone who's like ran games and can like really wrap their head around.
There's like
really
15
grok it.
plus NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
gosh.
essential that you have a grasp on the NPCs from the start to resolve like the first scenario, unless you just give them like some kind of win or something like that to actually play it out.
But if you're just reading it for fun and entertainment, then it's not a big deal.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of course in the story the NPCs interact with the PCs in a way, and the PCs will escape. They will inevitably escape in the story, but in the actual game, it's very likely that they'll die in the scenario. Actually, it's really ugly.
If you run it appropriately and don't fudge it.
And
Yeah.
I did. And you guys actually lived, which is cool.
Which
So-
one was this?
Out of the Abyss when we started in the
right,
Underdark.
yeah.
How do you think the writing of it being focused on like just reading it would affect the rules?
I think the writing style is more tradition at this point. I don't think it's necessarily coupled with the rules. I just think it's ensconced in habit of the people, like this typical stable of writers that go on. But who knows? I could be wrong about that.
I don't think the writing is so much the rule. It doesn't affect the rules as much as it affects the usability for a DM.
Yeah. So there's a lot of words and a lot of details, and if you want to actually get the scenario right and kind of keep it straight, you have to sort of memorize it, which is taxing. Again, like D and I were not bad students, I think, by any stretch, and it still could be very taxing to get all that in your head. Just keep it straight.
Yeah,
And that makes sense of
unless
it.
you just read it over and over and over again until you have it in your head,
which is a huge time sink too.
which is
Yeah.
the best way to do it as far as effectiveness at the table, but is the least efficient way.
Yeah,
of
it's
doing
like who really wants to spend all their time doing that?
The thing is, like, I ran that thing that I did, and like I say ran, we all sat around here and recorded it into a microphone. But
I haven't heard it yet, by the way.
I think to actually like DM my first session, like I would probably use one from Wizards of the Coast, like just to try and find an entry level that I could get into.
But didn't you DM?
I mean, I guess.
Yes,
You did.
I wasn't there. I totally missed it.
No,
Like,
you did. You ran that session.
Oh, okay.
You ran the heck out of that session.
Hey guys,
It was- the heck is totally out of it. It was practically an exorcism.
Guys, stop.
But you're saying if you wanted to run some kind of like fantasy thing, you'd
Well-
want to do.
It was fantasy.
It was.
Oh, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know what They were body parts.
Yeah.
We'll listen to the recording. Listen, but to move back more closely, to cleave more closely to our topic here, I think that the difficulty of profitably and enjoyably running a game being limited by DMs is a factor that will limit its popularity. And then, so you think, okay, well, that's fine. People can't be participating in that way on a large scale. Like, there's some limit to that. What about just watching, like Critical Role? The thing is, I don't think D&D is that fun to watch.
Mm-mm.
And Critical Role is an exception because it's a bunch of voice actors who are they're reasonably like decent looking. They don't look like weird cave trolls from a basement like most D&D. That's not actually true.
Hey,
Yeah,
watch
sorry,
it.
everybody. But I mean,
Aren't we in a basement right now?
Yes,
the,
we
the,
literally are.
the stereotype being that D&D people are generally the more marginal.
They're not the Chads and
nerdy.
Stacy's.
They're not the
so we need
Chads,
to. Yeah, but that goes back to the understanding that D&D is not cool. D&D may actually be cool now and may have a lot more Chads in it.
Well, as a
I'm just saying, like,
47-year-old
statistically,
man
we don't know.
with his pulse on what's cool
Uh-huh.
in this culture,
When are you going to start doing that?
as
Please?
one does as a
That-
47-year-old man.
Please say it's cool.
It's awesome. No, I think the only limiting thing is for right now. I mean, it's a video game is so much more satisfying to sit down and play for most people because it's visual. You can see it. You don't have to use your imagination. It's easier, right?
Are you
Yep.
saying it's easy?
There's immediate
Yeah, it's
feedback
easy.
and rewards. to it.
Exactly. And you're watching the story unfold. Now, granted, you don't have as much control over how that story unfolds as you do as a player in a D&D session. But that the visual part of it and the actual controlling a character and things, I think that's always going to outpace.
Yeah, and the thing is, people don't necessarily know what they're missing. Like,
Right.
if you've never played D&D, then of course you won't have anything to compare it against, so you won't know, oh, I wish I could do this. Really. And then even if you do play a D&D game, you won't necessarily get the kind of D&D game where you even do that kind of stuff. You
Right.
could just get the Adventurers League kind of thing, where it's basically just a video game that's slower.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think-
so D&D is clearly at its worst when it's a video game, except way slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like 4th edition.
I mean,
But people don't use their imaginations because their imaginations all that stuff, that stimulus is provided for them in media, right? And we're a media-driven culture, so I don't know that it's because when I tell people, I'm going like I told people tonight. Yeah, I got to go. I got to go to. We're playing D&D tonight. Oh, are you really? Well, yeah, and it's hard to explain to them. It's fun because you're in a group of people that are kind of like-minded as far as what you enjoy, and you're creating this story and it's unfolding as you go. That's a cool aspect of this to me. Plus character development and things like that. The rules are the most annoying part because
Well,
you got to learn them, right? And it's been 2 years. I still don't know them.
I mean, you just don't. You're just not trying.
No.
And I don't require that you do. Like,
No,
I
you don't.
true.
You
It's
don't.
true.
You don't.
It doesn't provide any benefit to you except maybe getting on blast every now and then, like escaping being on blast. And the other thing is,
It's 2D10, Stacy. It's 2D10.
But it's hard. Like if you know that there are rules, but you don't know what they are, you wonder what you're capable of doing as a character, and if you're somehow limited, and maybe don't know that you're limited.
right.
I enjoy that, finding the boundaries, like seeing what is allowed and what's not. Like it's sort of like reality because like you try to do things and you don't know whether or not you can do them. I mean, growing up, but I wonder if my interaction with D&D, because here in the past few years I've had almost like a disjoining, just like I don't play as many video games to completion like I used to. because I don't find them as satisfying.
Yeah, that's exactly me as well.
Yeah, it's just not, because, like Stacy said, the imagination, it all happens for you. You can't imagine anything. Even in a role-playing game, like in a video game, they create the role for you, regardless of what you choose or your choices. But when you're here and you're playing D&D, like your imagination...
It's like the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family.
When you're here, your family. And there's plenty of house wine and breadsticks.
Yep.
We love our breadsticks.
And so another thing that is limiting, I think, to D&D's potential popularity is creative burden. So there's like a performance aspect of it. Even though everyone agrees, like, nobody cares if you're good at it, really. Like, if you can't think of cool things, nobody really cares. Although, subtly, we all kind of care a little bit. Because we would rather have someone who's very creative and comes up with interesting things, rather than someone who, when presented with an option, shuts down or retreats into a shell or mumbles something. And so, if you tend to be a personality who's not inclined to that, you could see D&D as rather off-putting or unattractive or high-stress hobby, rather than if you suck at a video game, it's less, I don't know, maybe you feel less personally attacked or insufficient if you are bad at a video game that you're just playing with people for fun. Because also this is more demanding of your time. You have to go somewhere.
But how much of an adventure is it really to play a video game, though? I mean, really? I mean,
It's not.
It's not.
That's what I'm saying. But putting yourself out there, like challenging yourself in some kind of way, whether you're performing or not, you're...
A video game, you're not part of the story. You're watching the story unfold. It's like watching a movie. But when you're in D&D, you're actually part of, that story unfolding. And your decisions affects everybody, can affect everybody else in the group. And so anything you do can affect how the story unfolds. And that's the big difference between playing a video game and playing D&D, to me.
Yeah, and I will make an opposite prediction from Daniel. Believe it or not, I disagree with Daniel tonight.
So you're saying Daniel's pessimistic, but you're more optimistic?
Weird.
Wait,
That's
time
never
out.
happened.
Time out.
Wait, what?
Okay.
It's like this has
Record
never
scratch,
happened.
freeze
Were you in the
frame.
upside down place?
Daniel's being pessimistic, huh?
So I think that people may actually be clinging more to this kind of way of interacting. I say that because there's something really special about being like face to face in a group of people, and the vibe, and having like a single goal or like a single orientation, like a single focus. It's almost like it takes off on its own. It's kind of a magical thing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I
And
think
that
we
might
should all
sound kinda
take our
hokey.
shirts off right now.
We've already all done that.
I am not wearing pants.
Sorry, Tim. I had you muted.
Mute me.
Weirdly, he is wearing socks.
I am not wearing pants. That's what I was saying.
Here's the thing.
I'm a never
worn-
dude. I have to.
Tim's never worn pants.
No, but this is an experience that's common in other kind of group dynamics. I mean, like worship services.
I mean, this is basically
Business
church. As a church expert, I would say it's basically the same.
I'm a churchologist.
like S-Town kind of church. Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, you do have a much more intense and rewarding social dynamic especially if you do face to face,
Yeah.
rather than remote.
And so I'm not sure. So I guess the question will
satellite
be,
churches.
Yeah.
like how well will the digital media actually capture that experience? And if it captures it really well, of course, D&D will be huge. I could see it continuing to grow, but if it doesn't, well, it's going to take some level of organization to actually get people together to proselytize, almost again like a church sort of.
Amen. And we need some movies and stuff that don't suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're promised
Yes.
those. I don't know when
I
that's
don't
going to
think
happen.
I do not believe that's ever going to happen.
Just like the church,
Yeah.
all we have are like the Left Behind movies.
Exactly.
like, yeah, I mean, it's
like
like
how many good church movies are there?
It's like if they specifically try to brand it as D&D, it's gonna be garbage. But if it's, I mean,
Well, we have Game of Thrones, but that's not associated
yeah,
in
I
most
mean,
people's minds with
just take a good
D&D.
fantasy series. I mean, that's any D&D session can be that.
Yeah,
That
so
could be
so we
D&D,
could actually play
so to
Game of
speak.
Thrones, basically. We could have scenes
Yeah.
that are interactions between characters where we talk about things and maybe something interesting happens, maybe not, and we move on.
Yep.
When
Yeah,
people
things like
realize
that.
that basically D&D is us trying to play out anything that's happening in the Tolkien Legendarium or happening in Game of Thrones or anything like that, I think that's like, oh, hey, I could go like play that. It'd be fun.
Yep.
Let people
Yeah,
realize
that's
what it
never
is.
been like really motivating to me. I don't know.
Oh, see that.
Like playing it out.
That's another thing we can talk about another time. But also, there's a problem is that most games, like if you try to hook somebody with that, it can be like Game of Thrones. It can be like Tolkien, Legendarium. That was a nice one, John, by the way.
Thanks.
Most games are not conducive to that kind of play. Like D&D 5e will not tell you how to structure a game like that at all.
Yeah, I mean those are stories spent with years of work spent on developing character arcs and story arcs from a writer, as opposed to, hey, we're just a bunch of jabronis sitting around. Just
So
kind of
there
making
are
things as we go along.
There are story games that are designed to do more things like that, but they're not as popular and they're not as satisfying, I don't think, to play in general.
So I
But you could be in a world that's similar to that world. I think that's
Yeah.
The mythology, I think.
if you're playing
might
like the
be
statistical game,
alluring.
like what is most alluring? And again, I know they probably have like statistics on this. So we're speculating how popular is it really? What is the actual proportion of men to women? What do people like? What aspect do people like the most? Well, they do some research on this. I don't know how biased the numbers are, how good they are, but we could speculate. And I would say, like, my perception is that on average, like the average player character likes to actually make. I'm sorry, the average player actually likes to make his player character and like spend a lot of like out of game time fantasizing about this character, kind of thinking about the story of this character, looking ahead in the player's handbook and planning out this character's arc and bugging the DM with questions about the character world. Like those are the most like really engaged players.
That reminds me, Jim. I should probably change the way I do character generation so that it requires more time.
Yeah.
To get you guys more invested.
You need more buy-in, for sure.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
nothing stops you from being invested, but there's nothing makes you take the steps that will invest you. Because I've just got a generator where you press a button.
I intentionally make myself invested unless it's a one shot.
And I feel like anything that we invest into doesn't really affect our character, like when we play.
Well, that's not my problem.
The demoralizing thing about that is when I started playing with you guys, I prepped for 3 weeks on my character. And
Yeah,
I died
know.
in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And you're like, just print out another one. Just print out another one. Just randomly generate another one. And I was so disillusioned.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry about that.
Rip.
Because that is, on the one hand, that is some real magic in this game, is that the DM does work. The DM thinks a lot about it. He does a ton of planning, a lot of creative stuff. But in the best kind of groups, a lot of times the players are also doing this, not the same amount of work, but a lot of work, really thinking about it. Thinking about what the character's going to do next session. Thinking about what the character really cares about. And putting this all down somewhere.
I make myself invested in my characters, but one thing I've noticed is that I get way more invested in my 5e characters because I have a rule book and I can look at things that are coming and think about how I want to get there and why it makes sense for my character to do that certain ability or take that certain trait or different things. Like I think, why would I want my character to have this feat? How does it make sense for and I start to develop the idea of my character in my head, and I get way more invested when I can look at that stuff and helps me grow my character.
Yeah, I brought up that point before. Like, so that's one of the reasons that there are there's a lot of complexity in the rule book for the player's guide. I think that on the player end, having a lot of options, a lot of things to think about, even crunching numbers and wondering like what's best is really engaging for players.
It is for me.
Yeah, in a way that it just being handed a character sheet just cannot be ever.
So you would say that there's a critical.
Sorry, repeat that.
Whoa.
Let me.
Let the record show that in Daniel's attempt to make me speak correctly into the mic and make the audio output better, that he ruined everything.
You
By
either die a hero.
knocking the crap out of his mic stand.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, so for John, it seems like, and I think I felt this too at some point, that there is a kind of inseparable relationship between the mechanical kind of path that you have for your character in terms of, when they reach this level, they're going to get this thing, they're going to take this path, with the narrative maybe
Yes.
aspect of the character. Like they're gonna take this mechanical thing because maybe here's the story behind that would explain why they are good at this thing.
Yes. That is very true for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. Like even pre-gen characters, I'm like, how does this character make sense? You know, there's all these things, and I look and I just stare at it until it kind of coalesces into a narrative on how it makes sense. So this person
Yeah.
would be a sailor, rogue. I don't know. It'd have this trinket and
Yeah, so
the skill set.
And sometimes it goes the other way around. Sometimes it pick the stats and then make the character fit the stats.
to bring us back to the topic, though,
That's right. Yeah.
I counterintuitively, I think that having relatively complex character generation is not an obstacle to growth and popularity, and that it might be something that's good.
I think it's important. Yeah.
Because you would tend to think, oh, we want to make things accessible. Well, yeah, but this is a different kind of thing than a video game where you don't want to spend 8. Well, that's not true. And a lot of video games, you can spend hours making a character.
That's true.
And
Yep.
people love it.
Well, so it only
Now,
but wait, but it's a little
most of those
different.
hours is spent on visual tweaks.
Well, right.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but
not-
but
it's
but
not
actually, like they'll be initially accessible and then have depths of complexity that you can explore if you choose to explore.
Yeah.
That's a typical video game.
You could use presets, or you can just dive into every little thing that you want.
And then by demonstrated preference in RPGs, people like complex character creation.
Yeah, I think that's true. And then I think in terms of content, again, I would love to have numbers on this. I don't know, but I would speculate that people want to talk in character or as their characters often and feel like special little snowflakes.
Yeah, I think they want to feel cool and be in cool places and cool situations.
Yeah,
That's pretty well. I mean, obviously.
Obviously.
that makes sense. Uh-huh.
So anyway, do we have closing comments? My closing comments are: I think D&D is getting cooler. I don't think it is cool, and I don't think it will ever be really cool. I think there's a hard limit to how popular it will get. I think it'll get maybe back up to where it was initially, like in the 80s, and maybe a little bit past that, but I don't think it'll ever be.
They're surpassed. They're at the highest sales ever right now.
Numbers, all WotC's numbers are irrational.
Possibly.
I don't believe any of their stuff.
There's some square roots in there.
Thank you for getting my joke.
I think I'll just say this about the popularities in the 80s. That was probably due a lot to the bad press it got in the 80s. That probably increased or the negative press. They say there's no such thing as bad press, but the negative press that it got probably hurled its popularity in the 80s. If their numbers are high now, I think it'll if it does peak, it's gonna peter out eventually, because it takes a certain type of person to want to immerse themselves into that imaginative world with all the complexity around. I said complexity.
You sound like a southerner. It's fine.
And it's like scheduling.
I put the wrong.
We got the complexity.
Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
You with your complexity.
And it's like scheduling a raid every time you want to play.
Yeah. But I think I think there is a way of doing it that makes sense, and maybe it'd be interesting to talk about on an organizational level what it would look like for D&D to be more successful and be more popular and facilitate play and all that stuff. Like it is like a real problem, you know. That is the big limitation.
One thing I think is funny is that as D&D is becoming more popular, as far as I can tell, MMOs are becoming vastly less popular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
totally.
Yeah.
Here's my
Because
thing.
they're like big grind fest, and it feels kind of empty at the end, probably.
Yeah,
like
the things that
everyone
are MMO like Destiny and stuff, they're not really MMOs.
Nope.
I wouldn't say so. Not like they were back in the WoW days.
Mm-mm.
no.
Here's my thing. I think that the popularity is more like a bubble. I don't think that it's filled with any real substance. I think that pop culture things are really the only thing that's fueling it, and I think it would take one PR campaign against it to really deflate it.
That's cold, bro.
Probably.
I mean, I'm serious. I don't think it took one Tom Hanks after school special to really like bring it all down back in the 80s. Like, I think we're at the
I
same,
thought we just said that made it more popular.
in a sense,
I
like
think it
later, but there was I mean, they had like book burnings and stuff.
I feel like if you burn some of these books, a lot more people would play it.
Maybe we should start our own like AstroTurfed anti D&D campaign to make it more popular.
I tell you what, I burned my first starter set.
Well, let's burn another one right now.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Dude.
Thank you,
Yeah.
old boy.
Because
So,
I started buying into all the hype and it scared me.
Yeah.
I was 12
So
years old.
I want to hear from the listener. I want to know, like, do you love your hobby? Do you care about it? Do you want more people to play? Do you
Email
want it
Jim
to be
directly.
cool?
Jim's email is jim123@aol.com.
Please email me.
I hope that Jim went to the AOL.com gets a bunch of emails.
That guy's an a-hole. Take that, Jim123.
A little
he's my arch nemesis. Evil
Let's
Jim.
be real. Jim123@aol.com. That guy's probably dead now.
Because it's AOL.
Yeah.
Jim with a goatee. Is that what it is?
a little off topic, but like on the whole like burning things. I was really proud of my dad when he said that he hid his Beatle albums so that way he would not have to burn them.
Cool dude.
He should have burned them. Beatles aren't good music.
But my point is, like,
We don't have words.
So we're arguing if it is cool, but I'm wondering, like, as a community, do you want it to be cool? Do you want other people playing this game? How big do you want it to be? And like where's your heart in this? I'm just curious.
I don't really care.
Yeah, I guess my perspective is I don't care how many other people play it outside of do I have a group of people to play with.
Yeah, like I don't need
that's what's
products
important to me.
from companies anymore, so it doesn't have to be commercially successful at the point where I am.
All I need is a guy like Daniel around.
So long as it's successful enough to continue to produce products.
But I would
that
like
are
it to be successful so that I see other people doing it who have cool ideas that I can use.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like if you enlarge the community,
I'm so proud of this community.
I'm so proud of this community. So if you enlarge the community, you have a more, and you're gonna hate this word, diverse community. If you embrace diversity in the community,
we want young neckbeards. We want old neckbeards.
Marquez Brownlee.
for the very same reasons you said, that the charm of a community is new ideas, new ways of play, fresh stuff. And who knows where that could take us? Like, we really don't know what that looks like with a lot more people playing.
to space.
I don't know. Yeah, the OSR community was awesome. It's some magic happened there. And if not for that community, I don't know if that magic would have happened. And I'm saying, bigger community, who knows what's possible? I don't know. And so
I don't know if we would actually be playing as much. Like maybe we would have just done 4E modules and then kind of got tired of it and stopped. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. So
It's entirely possible.
I'm curious, just really, like, do people want this to be bigger? Do people want that kind of vision? Like, what is the shared vision of this?
I'm sure everybody
in the
wants it
long
to
run?
be more popular.
Yeah, I think so too. And are we doing our parts about that?
Yes.
I don't want it to be more
I feel
popular.
like we are. I mean, because we have a podcast that's literally devoted to
I mean, that's literally the most popular RPG-related podcast in the world.
Yeah.
So.
And if this becomes mainstream, then we have to LARP. You guys realize that, right?
I'm not LARPing. That is the line that I will not cross.
as he LARPs.
Lightning
he
bolt.
remembers
Lightning
this.
bolt.
I would drilling over the big sword.
I would
back
cross
there.
that line one time.
Yeah, it's always easy the first time, and then whoops.
I would totally cast Fireball. Be like, Fireball.
Magic missile.
You're
Magic
doing
missile.
it wrong. It's the lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt.
That's a great place to end this episode. Bye-bye. It's Gigi Nori.